Panettone, or is it Panettone? Hold on. I'm gonna call Christoph.
Hello.
Hello.
How you Liz?
I have an important question for you, Christoph.
Okay.
How do you pronounce Panettone?
Panettone.
So I said it's Panettone?
Yeah, Panettone.
It's not Panettone?
No.
Okay, all right, I was right. Hey Sugar Geeks, Liz here. Today I'm gonna show you how to make my version of a quick and easy Panettone for Christmas morning. It's light, it's fluffy, and it's oh so delicious. Coming up next on the Sugar Geek Show. So Panettone is a Italian Christmas bread. It's very traditional. Pretty much everybody makes it or buys it, I guess, for their celebrations during the holidays. But I'm gonna show you guys how easy it is to make it. Now, a traditional way of making Panettone requires usually a starter, sourdough starter to be exact. And way back in the day when everybody was making their own bread, you just had sourdough starter on hand, okay? And Panettone is very much like a really wet, rich dough. So I think they baked it in these paper liners as a way to kind of like keep it in one spot. But fast forward a few hundred years, nobody really makes their own bread. So in this recipe, I'm gonna show you how to kind of still make a starter, but it only takes 30 minutes. The first thing we're gonna do is make a pre-ferment. It just means that we're gonna get the yeast growing so that we have some nice flavor before we start adding in all the things like the fats and the fruit, which inhibit yeast production. So super easy: flour, yeast, water mixed together, put it away. You could let this pre-ferment for 30 minutes or you could let it pre-ferment overnight. The longer you pre-ferment, the more flavor, okay? Hey, what kind of flour should I use, Liz Merrick? Oh, I'm glad you asked. We're using bread flour, preferably Italian bread flour, which is like just a super fine and makes a really nice chewy texture, but seriously, any kind of bread flour is gonna work. Now that we have our pre-ferment ready to go, we can go ahead and start mixing up our butter and our honey. If you don't want to use honey, you could literally replace it with any other kind of sugar. You could use maple syrup, you could use agave, you could use glucose, like just any kind of sugar. We're gonna go ahead and add our softened butter to the Bosch mixer with the paddle attachments. I know that's weird because we're making bread, not cake, but it's kind of a cakey bread. So we're gonna cream the butter until it's nice and smooth, and then we're gonna start adding in our honey. Just mix that until it's basically honey butter. Wipe the drool from your mouth. And now we're gonna add our eggs in one at a time. You let them fully mix before adding in the next. Just make sure that the eggs are room temperature-ish so that they emulsify properly with the butter. Before you ask, you can get a link to this mixer in the description below this video, or you can use literally any kind of mixer that you have. KitchenAid, hand mixer. For this part, don't use a hand mixer to make bread. And while you're down there, you might as well hit that subscribe button and don't forget to ding the little bell so you get a little notification every time I make a new video. Why wouldn't you want that? Ding! All right, so now we are going to switch to the bread attachment. So this looks like a hook. If it's a KitchenAid, you know, it'll be like the little hooks thingy. For the Bosch, it has like a two-prong situation. And then I also have a center column scraper that just keeps the bread from sticking and mixing really well. Okay, so add in your flour and your salt, and then you're gonna mix this for about 8 minutes on speed 2 for the Bosch or speed 4 for a KitchenAid, or as fast as you can knead and for as long as you can knead if you're doing this by your hands, until it passes the window pane test. And what this is you just take a little piece of your dough and you stretch it very gently and try to make a window with the dough without it tearing. And if you can accomplish that, you have now created enough gluten and you can add in the rest of your ingredients. You can do raisins, the cranberries like I did, candied oranges. You can really get creative with the additions that you add into the Panettone and make it your own. All right, so now we gotta let the yeast do its thing, and the great thing about this recipe is you could literally put this on the countertop for about 30 minutes and bake it, and it would be ready to go. But if you wanna have more flavor, or you want to make these like the night before Christmas and have them ready to bake the next morning, because why wouldn't you wanna do that? You can just put it in the fridge. Like put them in the little liners or put it in a pan, put it in a loaf, whatever you wanna do. You could even just like make little rolls. Put them in there, stick them in the fridge, bake them the next morning, and you will have perfectly fresh from the oven Panettone. If you're gonna put this dough on the countertop, just cover it with a towel. If you're gonna put it into the fridge, you wanna use plastic wrap to prevent the surface from drying out. If you're doing this on the countertop, depending on how warm your room is, it could be as little as 30 minutes to double in size, or it might take up to an hour. So if you're in there cooking a lot, it's probably gonna proof really fast, but if it's snowing outside, it might take a little bit longer. To make our panettone, we're gonna use panettone liners. Just like these. Just like these. You guys see that? You can buy these in packs of 12 or 24 or like 3,000, depending on how much you're baking, all right? They come in all sorts of sizes. This is 2.75 inches by like 3 inches tall. So it doesn't really matter though. If you don't wanna get the wrappers, you actually don't even need them. You can just like bake them inside of a cake pan with a ring of parchment paper around them, or you could bake them inside cupcake liners. Amazon has them in all sizes that you could possibly imagine, or you could check out your local baking supply. Time to measure our dough. This is the part that I always like try to do perfectly for no reason other than I'm a perfectionist, but you want each dough ball to be about 3 ounces. So of course I'm gonna use a scale. I don't think even one time I managed to get exactly 3 ounces of dough, but gosh darn it, I tried. And then you just wanna kind of squish that into a dough ball. You don't really need to handle this a lot though. You don't wanna squish all the air out of this. You wanna keep it nice and light and airy, okay? And then just plop that into your liner. We're not like rolling this like a traditional roll. You're not pinching it. You're not making the top tight, none of that. And then we're gonna egg wash them now instead of later, because once they proof, they're like really soft and delicate, and you don't wanna like squish them down with the egg wash. Then you're gonna cover them in plastic wrap and put them in the fridge overnight, or you can cover them in a towel and just set it on the countertop for 10 minutes maybe, and then bake them. That's so easy. These bake at 375 degrees or 360 if your oven's a little hot like mine, for about 20 to 25 minutes. I think ours were in there for like 23 minutes. And basically what you're looking for is a nice golden color on top and an internal temperature between 190 and 200 degrees, which is when bread is done. This recipe will make roughly 18 3-ounce rolls, but really, truly, depending on the size of your paper, it varies. How should we store them, Liz Merrick? You store them in your stomach, okay? This is bread, it's fresh, you eat it. I would challenge you to not eat it all in one sitting, okay? Then come and ask me how long you should store it, okay? Just kidding. You could freeze them. If you wanted to make them ahead of time, you could definitely freeze them to lock in the moisture, but this is a rich dough, and basically the second it stops baking, it will start going stale, and it is at its absolutely best when it's fresh out of the oven. If by some insane reason everybody like lost their minds and didn't eat it fresh from the oven, I highly recommend you toast it the next morning, put some butter and jam on that, or you can turn it into bread pudding. Okay, I have a mini panettone that we bought from the store that we're going to compare, because literally 100% of the people that I asked if they make or buy their panettone, even my Italian best friend, said that she buys it. I am shook, okay? So let me know in the comments, do you buy your panettone or do you make it? Please tell me you at least buy it from a bakery, you heathens. Oh, that's so bad. Oh, just like sawdust. I mean, it feels like it's moist, but it honestly tastes like dirt, and I'm not joking. Maybe it needs to be warmed up, I don't know, but I am not exaggerating when I tell you that it absolutely tastes disgusting. All right, guys, let's taste this and see if it's good. I wonder. Got our butter. Bruh. This is so good. It's buttery. It's super soft. It does almost taste like cake because it's just so like rich. You taste a little bit of that orange. You can taste the currants, the sweetness, but it also tastes just like the best like dinner roll ever. Okay. So that's it, Sugar Geeks. That is how you make a quick and easy, delicious panettone for Christmas morning. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye.